Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Founders District leaders. Thank you for taking time today to welcome our Region 2 advisor, Christine Brady. Christine's role as Region Advisor is mainly to provide support to current district leaders in their pursuit of Smedley Distinguished. You can equate the RA visit to your area director visits to our clubs. Christine began her Toastmasters journey in 2003 and has served Founders District as Club Growth Director, Program Quality Director, District Director, and immediate past District Director prior to broadening her service as RA. I feel we're extremely fortunate to have such a fabulous mentor, trainer, and supporter. Please welcome Christine Brady, Region 2 Advisor, as she gives us some insight into the area director reports and moments of truth.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to be here today. I want to keep this a little bit interactive today, so I want to start by asking, what are some of the challenges that you face when it comes to your area director report? What are some hurdles to the report? Getting it done, arranging the visit.
Some clubs are hard to get to respond for actually even doing the visit.
Yep, that is a challenge.
Their full information exactly isn't always there, and then they're not as responsive as we might want them to be about our potentially visiting.
Okay. Natalie, do you have anything? You're off mute.
I would say trying to get area directors to do them, because I think that has been one of my biggest challenges this year, is getting them motivated, because I know Julie's my division advisor and I have probably had so many conversations about this. So I think it's just that motivation to get them to do it when it's part of the job description type of thing.
All right. Okay. Yes. Let's see. Randy. Yep.
What I see is that you'll have an area director that visits a club with, say, 6 members, and turns out an area director report that says everything's going well, which if we've got 6 members, it's not all going, but they're too nice.
All right. I can guarantee you we're going to address some of that in the presentation today. Anyone else have any difficulties?
Christine,
Yep.
sometimes the timing of club meeting, because for virtual area directors, for example, in India, the club meets in the midnight of US timings. So that might be the challenge. Midnight, staying like awake till midnight and visiting the club. It comes like twice a year, but yes, it might be one of the challenges.
Okay, that is a challenge. That's a challenge they would know ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
When they sign up and they get their list of clubs and accept it. That is definitely, it's a real challenge.
Well, and the other side too about being too nice was giving feedback in a harsher manner than would help the club.
Yes. Okay, that is
couching that differently, something like that.
All right. So yes, your notes, go ahead.
I wanted to say that during my term as area director, what I found challenging was the personal connection with the club officers, so that they would trust me, that we would create a report and we would be able to take on our work from there, like see me as a trustworthy person that sincerely wants the best for their clubs, and not just a person that comes and inspects and then reports, but developing relationships with them. And
yes, okay.
If I would have been better at that, probably I would have had a little bit more success.
All right. Leilani, did you have anything? I saw you were off mute and then you're back on mute.
Yeah, it's a feeling that report is, some of the questions I couldn't really answer without going to all the officers. I mean, to have a meeting with them, but it's kind of difficult for me to have all of them, to respond.
Okay, yes, it's the response again. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have been taking notes of all of your challenges, and as I'm going through this, if I can address it during the presentation, I will, and if I don't get to it, we'll definitely have some time to talk about some of these at the end. All right, sound good? Ready to get started? All right, here we go. Let me share my screen here. All right. All right, I know you can see my screen, but for some reason now I can't see my notes. So let me there we go. All right, so today we are talking about your moments of truth and how we're going to tie that to a key quality area visit report. And Jean, I'll just let you know, I can't see everybody now because I'm sharing my screen. So if somebody has a question and I am not acknowledging them, if you could just interrupt me.
Will do.
All right. So the objectives of our session today are to discover the moments of truth module, because there might be some people here in the room that don't know what that is. We'll talk about how you use it. So we'll make sure that you all understand how to use the moments of truth. And then what we're going to do is tie that to the club mission and to the area visit report. Okay, so we're going to take this real comprehensive look at all the tools that are available to you to make your area report better, and not just what Randy was talking about with everything's great, everything meets expectations, excellent, right? We know that we have clubs that definitely do those things, but they maybe we want to have a more accurate picture of all of our clubs and what is going on in them. Okay. Do you guys ever have those days where your mouse just will not show up anywhere on your screen and then you don't know where you are? Yeah. So that's the day I'm having. All right. So what is moments of truth? Who's used moments of truth? Does anyone, let's see, April, Leilani's done it, Jean. Jean, let me know if anyone raises their hand for this next question. Has anyone not used moments of truth? Maybe that's the better question. Tim hasn't used it. Okay.
Looks
All
like
right.
Tim. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. And, no harm, no foul if you haven't used it before. Some people forget that there's these modules where they just don't know, right? So, Moments of Truth is a module that is prepared by Toastmasters International, and it's a way for a club to evaluate their own meeting from the perspective of a guest. So many times, we get comfortable in our club, right? We get really comfortable. We just kind of do things the way that we've always done them. And we don't think about what that looks like for the guest coming in. All right. And a lot of times we just think, oh, we need to get some new members in here. Let's do an open house. And then you just plan an open house. And if you're just kind of going along business as usual, you may not be presenting yourself in the best light, right? We have to clean house before we open house, right? How many of you can relate to even just having guests in your house? I had a guest just recently. Yep. And you know how you clean your house from top to bottom and make it look like you always live like that, when in reality, it's not really it's not really how your house is every day. But that's the same concept. And Moments of Truth can help a club get to that clean house situation. That's really important that you have, your clean house so that your guests come in and they are seeing you at your very best. Now, should you only do that for guests? No, you should be having a, clean, beautiful house all the time for yourself, right? Same thing with your club meeting. Your members deserve to have that best quality meeting all the time. So yes, while you're looking at it from the perspective of the guest, it does help you just see where you can find some things to do just to make your meeting a little bit better. So the Moments of Truth module is comprised of, there's a manual for the facilitator. There's a slide deck that you would use to present and walk the group through Moments of Truth. There's a checklist for the members to use, and then there's a club quality standards. That's something that Toastmasters puts out that says like this is what a quality club should be doing. Now, I keep talking about this is something that the members can do for themselves. They can definitely do that in their club, but it can also be delivered by the area director or the division director. So anytime that you're scheduling a visit, you can always ask a club, especially if you look at the dashboard. You should be looking at the dashboard before you go in for your area visit, just to see, how many members does this club have? How many education goals have they submitted? Have they been attending training, submitting their dues on time? That kind of thing. You can also see like, ooh, this is a low member club. They might benefit from hearing moments of truth, and you can ask the club officers if they would be open and amenable to you delivering that module. Now, let's talk about why moments of truth is important. I already said it is a powerful tool to gauge the health of a club, looking at that guest perspective, making sure that everything is shiny, dust free, so that when the guest comes in, they're seeing the best version of your club. But also, it's that member experience, right? Think about what your area director report is asking, and it is asking a lot about the experience of the club. So, what is it like for you to experience the meeting when you attend as an area director, but also what do you think it's like for the members to experience? Like what happened if you show up to a meeting, and I will use my home club, and we are a low member club, so even the RA has a club that we have we have some issues, and we're trying to work them out for our club. But even for my club, when we don't have all of the roles filled, right? And we might think, oh, it's kind of normal. You show up and you think, oh, we still need to fill the counter role. And so the president starts asking before the meeting, who can serve as counter? Well, what does a guest think if you are trying to fill roles right as the meeting is starting? It's maybe not the best, right? That the agenda should be done and locked in. We shouldn't have to do that right from the lectern. The other reason again is that that club quality should be high, right? So Moments of Truth is helping you make sure that your club quality is the highest that it can be, and that it's consistently high. So it's one thing if you put on a show for your area director and you have a great meeting when the area director is visiting, but it should be like that every time. Every time you walk in, the agenda should be full. You should be having a nice full meeting because that is attractive to guests. And that's how you retain members. When everyone is actively involved and the meeting is amazing, it keeps people coming back. So that is how you are retaining all of your members. Is everyone with me so far? Got some thumbs up? All right, very good. Okay, so let's talk again a little bit about what Moments of Truth is measuring. There are 6 elements. These might look familiar to you because some of these elements do show up in this exact wording on your area report. So you're looking at first impressions, membership orientation, fellowship variety and communication, program planning and meeting organization, membership strength, and achievement recognition. When you are delivering Moments of Truth, this is important that you're looking at every element. So it's forcing you to look at everything. What else does this look like? Go ahead, April. I see you.
DCP.
Yep. This looks exactly like the Distinguished Club program, right? All of those elements that are making up the numbers on the performance reports or the dashboard when you log into toastmasters.org, right? And you're looking at the dashboard. These are pretty much what you're going to see. We may not see first impressions, but if we can see that they have 15 members, we can maybe make a small assumption that they have a full agenda and that they're they're having a good quality meeting every time. So this does look a little bit like that DCP. All right, so let's do our first tie. Okay, we're going to tie this in. We're going to tie it into the area report. So we've talked about Moments of Truth and those 6 elements. So those are on the left-hand side. And your area report is looking at 3 elements. So how many of you, I've gotten an area report. Some of you been seeing those coming in? Yes? Division directors, area directors are starting to work on those? Okay. When you look at that area report, the first section of your area report is about those meeting observations, right? And that's including the membership orientation, the program planning and meeting organization. There's fellowship, variety, and communication, membership strength, achievement recognition. Now, some of these things, to Leilani's point, right? Sometimes you don't see them at the meeting that you visited. So let's say achievement recognition. You may not see it, right? Because maybe Pathways was just down, and so they haven't been able to submit awards, right? And so that meeting that you visited, they didn't acknowledge anybody completing a level. But you might need to say like, well, how do you acknowledge that? Or do you acknowledge it? Or does it just silently just get entered and everything's fine? So what would be the recommendation if you don't see it?
Contact them, I guess.
Contact them. Yep. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about it. So the first thing you really should do, and you know what, I'm going to stop sharing just so that I can see all your faces. And again, the mouse just doesn't want to cooperate. Okay. My recommendation to you would be, if you can, to like just have a copy of the blank report in front of you if it's possible for you to have it. Print it out just so that you understand what all the questions are and what are all the elements that you're supposed to be looking at. There's some of those that you will be able to understand from the dashboard, and there's others that you're going to have to ask a question. If you can look and understand what all the questions are when you set up that area visit, you can ask the club officers, hey, can I log in 15 minutes early, or can I show up 15 minutes early and go through some of these things with you? And if that's not okay, if they say, oh, we're on a tight time frame, I can't get there early, ask, can you stay after the meeting? No? Okay. Can we schedule a quick call afterwards? Right? Because you don't have, yes, you do need to observe the meeting and be in the meeting, but you don't have to answer all the questions right during the meeting, because some of them, to Leilani's point, you can't. So try to do that work up front to understand if you can have 10 minutes of their time just to answer or ask those questions to get those answers. And if you can't get them, then you send that follow-up email, and make sure that you send the follow-up email to all the club officers. So, and I know Julie Murphy's on this call. So we are in another club together, Julie and I, in District 100, and we're both officers of that club. So we had our area visit report for that club in September, and the area director had some questions afterwards, and she emailed all of us. And I'm the president, but Julie knows that I need a lot of babysitting because I'm busy and I do too many things. So when the area director reached out to ask those questions and Julie saw that I wasn't responding, Julie made sure that she took care of it, because any one of the officers can answer a question about how you handle recognition in your club, right? It doesn't have to come from the president. So make sure that you're reaching out to all the officers just in case you have that president that needs some handholding like I do, right? And they are busy. Does that help, Leilani? Think about how to get, okay. Very good.
Christine, there was also a comment from April
Yes.
in regard to recognition, that the other thing that you could do is in preparation for your visit is to check the social media accounts to see if there is any recognition for their members on social media.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because recognition, it doesn't even have to just be about the achievements, right? Especially if it's on social media. It could just be they're posting a picture of their meeting every week, and they look like a fun community and that looks attractive to you. And that might be an element that you report in your area director report, that their social media is active and that people are participating in it, but also that they are acknowledging their members' achievements there. Absolutely. All right, let's get back over to my screen here. The other things that your area report are looking at, of course, is the club experience and then club support. And I think that the club support area is probably the area that area directors struggle with the most, because sometimes it's asking that question, what can the district do to support the club? Right? And who is that in the report when it says what can the district do to support the club? Who is that? April's going like this because she knows she's part of that. Is it just the trio? No, it's all of you. So area director, when you say this is what the district needs to do, where does it start? With yourself, right? It starts with you. So when you are making those recommendations, think about that's something that either I can help them with, or I'm the person who can coordinate that on behalf of the club. Right? And sometimes your club officers might be telling you exactly what kind of help they need, and the division director is working on it. Natalie's working on a project for my home club, right, Natalie? She's
Yes,
helping.
I'm here. I'm here.
She helped, and we go back and forth on WhatsApp sometimes and talk about things that, let's say, anything needs, and she'll say, okay, well, I can't. Poor Natalie is so far away. She can't physically help me because she's sleeping and she deserves to sleep and not be worried about, let's say, anything. But I know that she has my back, and that when she has somebody that can help me with that issue that we're working on, that she'll just send them my way. And I know that she has us. And so that's definitely something that should be reflected in the area visit report. All right. So let's talk about this slide's in a funny spot. I feel like maybe it got moved around, or I don't know. We'll talk about it now. So we'll talk about how you use this moments of truth module. So essentially you're going to use the entire club meeting. How many of your clubs do you know would actually give up their entire club meeting? Yeah, probably not very many. The way it's designed, if you get up and if you deliver the entire thing, it's going to take a whole club meeting, because you are looking at those 6 elements of the meeting from start to finish, right? From when the sergeant at arms arrives to set it up to when they break down that meeting and everyone goes home. One thing that you can do is say, I just need, 20 minutes, and the facilitator can explain each of the 6 elements, and you can try to break up those club members into 6 groups. This only works if there's more than 6 people there, right? Because you definitely want people kind of working in groups. I guess people could pair up and they could do 2 of the elements a piece, so that they're at least talking together. And then using that worksheet that I talked about that's in the module, each group would analyze the elements. There's a 1 to 5 scale. Okay, and any element that has a score of 3 or below, that is telling you that piece needs attention. Once they finish their time together, there would be a group discussion on the findings. And if they can't give up their entire club meeting, the best thing would be to say, what's the top 1 or 2 things that have a 3 or below, right? Because there could be multiple things that have a 3 or below, and you might say, you cannot clean up this mess all in one swoop, right? I try to give myself a little bit of grace when my house is messy, and I say, you know what? It took like a month to get like this. So you're not going to clean it up in 15 minutes, right? It's just not possible. If it takes that long to get there, I'm not saying it should take a month to clean up, but it's going to take longer than 15 minutes. So same thing with the club meeting. You might have to pick and choose which things that have a score of 3 or below that you're going to work on. And so if you can identify elements of the club, then that's another way just to kind of shorten that time frame, so that you're not talking about everything that has a 3 or below, but talking about specific targeted things that they would work on. And then, of course, you can't just go through this exercise and say, okay, that was great. No, you have to actually make some change. You need to implement some changes into your meeting. So make sure that there's the follow through for the club. So that is the area director. If you go through moments of truth with the club and and they're open to having you do that and they tell you exactly what elements they're trying to change, well, the next time you visit, see if they've made those changes. See if they've made any small tweaks just to make their meeting that much better. Okay, the next-
Christine, we had a
Yes.
couple of comments in
Yes.
regard to other ways of doing the report, and that is, or the moments of truth. Julie noticed that other clubs have a checklist that they use, and they use that as part of their GE report. So they're able to incorporate at least some of these at every meeting based on what the GE observes.
Yeah, that is such a good idea. And
Mhm.
one thing, I visited Aliso Viejo Toastmasters Club last night, and I did notice that their GE also has that checklist. And it's so helpful because they are a club brand new, right? Almost every member's new. Everybody might be doing the role for the first time. So even if you are a club that's been in existence for 20 or 30 years, you can still have the checklist and hand that to new members as they're first doing that role. But it can just be out on the table for every time for the GE, right?
Mhm.
You can have one
Mhm.
for the awe counter, for the grammarian, like some kind of checklist, a formal way that they look at the meeting. Same thing for the president. How many of you have a president that just kind of like it seems like they're winging it? Right? And for some clubs that's appropriate because some clubs are a little bit more casual, right? But that club I was telling you where Julie has to hold my hand because I'm the president, but she knows I need to be babysat a little bit. I have a script for that club because that club is very formal and it's intense. And it gives me anxiety every time because I'm like, oh my God, when I'm working on that script, if I forget even to like cross one T on my script and I miss something, I know I have people in that club that are going to call me out, right? Maybe not in front of everybody, but there'll be emails. And so I know I don't want those emails. I don't want anybody telling me because I already told you my house can be messy. Like I don't need to know other places in my life that are messy. I just want to know that, I did a good job. I don't want to get those constructive criticism emails from those club members. So in that case, it's good for the president to have a script. So that's kind of with that checklist, Gene. I think that, if the president
Yes.
has a script and they go through it, that can be the president checklist, right? Just to make sure. Did I acknowledge all the guests? Did I follow the order of the agenda? Always a good idea. All right.
A follow-on to that was Tim's comment that in lieu of the moments of truth, his club uses a spreadsheet to assign roles weekly and another spreadsheet that tracks the member pathways progress. And it provides a plan on who's to focus on what to get the educational DCP point or goal
Yeah,
met.
that is so important because if you're not encouraging those members who have made a commitment maybe to hit one of those goals, you don't want to get to May and realize that they have to give 6 speeches in order to finish what they intended to finish, right? It's a good idea to have that spreadsheet and to be tracking.
Right. And then just one other comment from Natalie for a suggested motivator for completing your moments of truth, to use it as a pathways project, which she did recently. And she said that she was able to take a full meeting and advance the club in a different district. And it could be a good motivator for folks to actually do the moments of truth by using it as a pathways project.
Yes, I think that is a great idea to do it as a pathways project for sure. Yes. All right. Let's do our second tie. So we will tie moments of truth to the club mission. Who wants to read this?
I can do it.
All right, thank you.
We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth.
Beautifully read. Thank you. That is the club mission. How many of you are in clubs where you read that every time?
I am.
Yep. I have a club where we read it every time. I'm in lots of clubs And not every club reads it every time, right? But this is good. If you do read it every time, it does remind the members this is why we're here. Now, let's talk about what each section of that club mission means to you. So I'm going to have you all come off of mute. So the first part, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience. What does that mean? Just like short, few words. Natalie, yep.
Safe place to fail.
Safe place to fail. Yep. Your notes?
I'm gonna do a speech next week on the mission of the club. So the first word, we, as Daniel Rex said, there's we provide. That means not the president, not the club officers, not one member, but we provide. So everybody, that's a buy-in for everybody. Everybody should provide. And then supportive and positive, that means, I can, as April said, or Natalie said, I can, fail and still be supported. It's a learning it's a workshop. I'm not supposed to be perfect over here. I'm just
Right.
supposed to be trying.
Yes.
I heard it was this, I don't even think in terms of failing. We never fail here. We're always learning. I heard it was a past international president had said, Toastmasters is the place to come and make mistakes.
Yeah.
We're trying new things, we can make mistakes,
Yeah.
and we'll be encouraged, applauded for doing so. You'll still get constructive feedback, never lambasted.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Randy's question about the AD visit report when there's only 6 members and that report is coming in that says meet expectations or exceeds expectations, right? There are places where that tiny little club can be demonstrating part A of the club mission, right? And instead of just putting exceeds expectations on that spot with no comment, right? I think that's the thing that makes me the craziest about the area visit reports. I'm going to stop sharing. The thing that makes me the craziest is that they'll just be exceeds expectations, but there's no comment there, right? Or meets expectations with no comment. And I'll use my club as an example. When the area report came in, there was a lot of that. We only have 8 members, right? There was a lot of meets expectations or exceeds expectations. And I know that we had some trouble leading up to the area visit that the area director should have said, you know what, there's something else going on here. You can say in your area report, you can give them an exceeds expectations and you can say, you know what, they don't have a lot of members, but they are definitely demonstrating a supportive and positive learning experience. That's better than no comment at all, right? And I think that's a really good, like, hey, you're doing really good here, right? Keep doing that. That's attractive to people. Because my little home club, we always have people tell us, oh, you guys are so great and we love it. I think it's the time of our meeting that might be messed up, or, we've had some trouble getting all of our roles filled. So it's not the most vibrant meeting every time. So that is definitely a comment that you could give. You could say, they don't have very many members, right? Please work on that. But you are providing that supportive and positive learning experience. All right, let's go back to that. Let's talk about part B, that members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills. So what does that mean? What does that mean to all of you? Go ahead, your notes.
Just wanted to say on a funny side that we don't go at the meetings to, dance around the fire and do kumbayas, but we are there with a structured program to achieve those goals, to achieve empowerment on development of communication and leadership skills. Like that's the primarily logic and reason we are there, for communication and leadership skills, and then everything that follows and surveils around is for that.
Absolutely.
Randy?
As Dan Rex pointed out a couple of days ago, the word empowered means that you're not being taught, you are given the ability, the power to do these things.
Right. So let's think about if I visited Tim's club and I see that they have that sign up sheet that gets circulated around, either the link is offered on a virtual meeting or we're in person and it physically goes around the table, right? Does everybody have the ability to sign up wherever they want? They really do, right? You could make note of that in your area report.
You
Wow, at
can
the end of
request, although we usually just assign it and no one questions it unless they have a scheduled conflict that they can't make.
sure.
Usually we'll have
Yeah.
people, hey, I want to speak next week, and then we'll move people around for that.
Right. But you also have the ability to say, you know what, I prefer to have my life scheduled out 5 weeks in advance, so I'm going to sign up for the roles instead of having Tim tell me where to go, right?
To do that.
Yeah. And I think in a lot of cases you would prefer that people sign up, right? Because that means that they're actively engaged.
Although they never do.
I know. Oh man, I feel that. I'm VP in another club and it is pulling teeth. Yeah.
Even when we assign the roles, they'll say something came up, I can't do a speech, and then we have to reschedule again.
Right. Yeah, that is the problem with the signing. There's no perfect system, but at least in the area report, you can report like, I do see that the members are encouraged, empowered to develop communication and leadership skills. This club is meeting this part of the district or the club mission. All right, let's talk about part C. I'm sure you could guess that we were going to do part C. So, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. What does that mean?
Well, in a nutshell, that's how everybody should walk away from a meeting. More confident and more developed as humans, as professionals.
Absolutely. Yes.
Also
Go ahead, Leilani.
ask them what's their goal in the club. Why did they join the club, and focus on that, helping them.
Absolutely. Elaine.
Well, I have found that as they go through the meetings, the more that they volunteer for the roles, the more confidence they build in doing the different roles. And I see their growth in that.
Absolutely. And Natalie.
Using the area director report to find future district leaders, because I think that was one of my headaches last year when trying to find area directors, was nobody'd written that anybody wanted to actually progress. So I think that's something that we need to use a lot more.
Yeah, I think that is true. Let me ask you this, because this has happened in a recent area report. My name was put in. I wasn't the first problem. Yes, you can always put my name in because I'm always going to be doing something. But I wasn't asked. I wasn't asked ahead of time. So please confirm with somebody before you put their name in there, because like we just heard from Natalie, she's using the area report and those names to say, hey, as the next program year is starting and we're trying to identify people to move forward, do we think that do we have some folks? So make sure that you just ask. I know sometimes when you ask, you get the no, right? Oh no, I could never do that. Right? But you could say to somebody, would you consider it? And can we just reach out to you with some more information? Because I actually think that you would be a really great area director. Right?
It actually worked this year. I was talking with my current Area 1 director about next year, and I put his name in the area visit report. Next thing, Gene's calling him the next day, and here he is. He's got it 1 year earlier.
Yeah, so that definitely, it does work. But imagine I'm the VPE, so I got a copy of that area report, and imagine my surprise. I'm going through and there's my name. And I'm thinking, well, I'm still region advisor, so I don't know that I can be tapped for area director, but that doesn't mean that she can put my name in. That's okay. But I'm just using that as an example, like something that actually happened to me. So imagine this does get sent out, right? We'll talk later about who it goes to. Imagine the president's surprise if their name is in there. What? Did I talk about that? Right? So no surprises, right? Just like you wouldn't surprise your boss with something, especially bad news. Don't surprise a club officer with putting their name in there. All right. go on to the third tie-in. So let's talk about the club mission and moments of truth. Let's tie these two things together. So part A, we talked about what that means to us, that we provide a supportive and positive learning experience. Of those 6 elements on the right-hand side, what do you think fits there? If we're looking at those 6 elements. Go ahead and unmute and just call it out.
Most of them.
Most of them, yes, I would agree. Supportive and positive learning experience. Supportive is demonstrated, of course, in first impressions. And I mean, that's even for every member, right? When they walk in the door or come into that Zoom room, how are they welcomed? Program planning and meeting organization definitely falls in there. All of them do. I agree. That was an easy one. Let's talk about part B. Members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills. How does that tie in to moments of truth? Tim, we talked about it just a minute ago about the role assignment, right? So making sure that we have a good program planned every time. People are investing an hour or more of their week to be in the club. Make it worth their while. Make sure that members understand that when they take on that role, that they should be prepared, well prepared, that they understand what their role is. We're going to talk tomorrow about the Toastmasters Promise. And so that is part of it. So last night at Aliso Viejo Toastmasters, I have never seen a group of more well prepared people put on their program. That was, everybody was well prepared. And that is just the culture that they all show up and they are ready to go. And so that's kind of the same thing, right? In that environment, of course, people are going to be pushed to do their absolute best, which is going to be reflected every meeting. Any other part you want to talk about for part B and how we tie it to moments of truth? What about membership orientation? Do we just throw our new members in and say go?
Fortunately, sometimes this is an area where, I see that the clubs that I belong to, they still have to work to improve on this side. So yeah, developing a pool of mentors is crucial, and having some sort of structure around that, so that not only the president or one person or the VP, does the orientation, but everybody's assigned a mentor. Because in my experience, the better you set up the new member, the more likely is that they will follow through to their goals and stay and renew and be part of the club and the culture. But if they are in constant state of, what is this? What am I supposed to do? Where I'm getting these resources from? Then, it's just gonna be confusion, frustration, just
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll get to you, Julie, in a second, but I would say too, it's so vitally important that you get that new member to deliver their icebreaker as soon as possible because you want to get them in front of everybody. That's the whole thing, right? Is to get in front of the audience. And the best way to do that is to do the icebreaker. And so many times I see a new member say, oh, I can't do my icebreaker yet. Oh, I can't do it yet. And it's self-imposed anxiety, right? And and what'll happen is it's gone on for so long that they start dreading that they're going to get asked that question, so they stop coming. So you just need to tell people just to get over the hump is get that icebreaker done. You're just going to talk about yourself. You don't even need to prepare really a lot of material, right? You can if you want to, but you're just talking about yourself. And so this can be the more free flow speech if you want it to be, because the point isn't to deliver a perfect speech. right out the gate. It's just to get them over the hump and get them on track to delivering more speeches and getting that feedback. Because I think that feedback, the first time they think, oh my gosh, they've never heard an evaluation that was critical in your club, I hope, right? They shouldn't have ever heard that. But I think the fear is always they're going to tell me I'm terrible. So make sure that you get them over the hump, and that will keep them coming back. Julie.
I think another key component is, as you mentioned, pushing members to do the icebreaker, but then also making sure that members take on new roles. And sometimes that little kick in the butt helps, trying to start the club at Kia. And I have a member that is a very nervous person, and she will, in the middle of it, just lose her train of thought. But, part A and part B kind of go together. But I'm always like, no, it's okay. Keep going, keep going. And, we cheer for her that she takes on these new roles. And I make a really big deal, like, oh my gosh, first time that you've been GE, something to experienced members is like, I'm just GE, whatever. But to her, it's anxiety inducing. So making sure that you are giving those members that push in the butt, and then also when you're doing table topics, making sure that you're rotating, and especially if you know that you have a member that is shy, making sure that you maybe call on them every meeting, or more meetings and what have you, to really help them along their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's important for us to remember, especially as now I would say that all of us here in this room are more experienced, right? And so we don't experience that anxiety of taking on these roles. That everybody's level of anxiety is different, right? And you have to remember what it was like for you the first time that you walked into the Toastmasters room, that even just walking into the room can be something to applaud, because especially if it's an in-person meeting, the person has to drive there, right? So on their drive, they're like getting all worked up. They have to park their car. They have to walk in and sit down. So I'll give you a good example of this. I invited somebody who's brand new to Toastmasters. She had been a guest at a club that I'm in last week. That club only meets once a month. And she told me, based on what she's trying to do, she needs a club that meets every other week or every week, right? So I invited her to come to Smedley Club 1. I'm like, hey, you know what? This is going to be a unique opportunity. This club is celebrating the 100th anniversary. They're the first club in Toastmasters. It's going to be a little party. And I'd love to introduce you to some folks that are in this club so you can see if maybe this is the club for you. And we had been texting back and forth, and she was telling me all day, like, I'm so excited and I can't wait. And I said, yeah, I'm going to be there, and I'll see you there. And I hadn't been to this club's new location either. So when I pulled into the parking lot and it was almost full, I thought, oh gosh, I hope she's already here. But if she's not, I hope that it works out where she gets parking. And sure enough, I checked my phone at 5 minutes to the meeting starting, and she said, I'm in the parking lot working out parking. I will be right there. And I said, perfect. I can't wait to see you. Right. And after the meeting, she said to me, when I got here, if I didn't know that you were waiting for me and I saw that parking lot full, I would have just left. She said, but because I knew that you were waiting for me, I parked the car. I found a spot and I parked and came in. I'm telling you that because if she hadn't known that I was there, she would have just left, right? That would have been her first experience with that club. And she would have said, well, I already know this club isn't for me because I can't find parking, right? We have to applaud that. I told her, I go, oh, I said, well, first of all, I would have understood. But secondly, I really appreciate you finding that spot and coming in. And I said, and was it worth it? Was this meeting great? She said, yeah, this was fantastic. Right. But we have to, like, to Julie's point, we have to think about, like, we might think, like, why is she so anxious about being the timer? But it's because they have to read in front of the group what the timing rule is, and then they have to do the job. And how many of us have been captivated by someone talking and realized that we forgot to set the timer? I still do that. Right. And we have to let we have to let that new member know, you know what, that happens. Sometimes it happens. We all do it. We get caught up in the meeting and we're so excited and we forget the time. I did it to Mary Berg one time. on this call. I didn't realize that the table topics master had actually asked her a table topics question. And I was sitting there thinking, why is Mary interrupting the meeting right now? And then I realized I think she's answering a table topics question, and she had already been talking for a while, so I just put the yellow up. And then I waited a little bit and I put the red up. And I told her later, I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. But even the best of us can just, lose it sometimes. So really thinking about the newest member doesn't know that that happens because they may not have seen it before. And so you have to tell them, like, I know you have anxiety. It's going to be okay. If this isn't nobody's going to catch on fire if they don't get the green, yellow, and red right on time, unless it's a contest. But don't tell them that, because at the club meeting, this is the safe place to fail, right? Yes, Mary.
I have a very short story to tell you about one of
Can
the.
we save the story? Is it a story?
It's a short story.
Okay, go ahead.
A very short story, and it's pertinent to this. There was a lady who went to the meeting only because her husband wanted her to do it. She was at the meeting for 2.5 years before she agreed to say anything. She would not introduce herself. She ended up, after 2.5 years, being asked to be the president of the club. She agreed, and the next 6 months period, she was asked to be the area director, and she was the area director of the year just by listening.
Oh. 2.5 years.
Her
though,
name
man,
would
that's a long
be
time. Go ahead.
I'll call you at 2:00 in the morning.
All right, so let's talk again. Let's revisit the why. Why do we do moments of truth? Well, we need to evaluate the club from that guest experience, right? Because the guest is a prospective member. So making sure that we are evaluating the club from the guest experience. That club experience should be consistent from club to club. So of course the club culture will be different, right? My home club, we're pretty relaxed. We're, pretty casual. The company that it's at, they tend to be pretty casual. So we have all formalities of the meeting, but we just approach it in a casual way. But all club meeting elements should be the same from club to club, right? There's 3 things that we're practicing: prepared speeches, table topics, evaluation. Those are the 3 elements. They should all be there. Of course, clubs have different elements that they add in: joke master, quote master, evaluation master. We have other things that we do, but the 3 main elements should be the same. And how do we measure those elements? Well, of course, we can use moments of truth. So remember, when we're providing that excellent club quality, we are attracting members and meeting the needs of our current members, right? Just like we work on the district success plan, where we're working with our current clubs to keep them awesome. We're also building new clubs. Same thing in the club. The club should be attracting new members and then meeting the needs of the existing members. So let's talk a little bit about that area report. Now remember, the area report is tied to branding, right? So let's take this over. The club meeting is the brand. And I want you to think of, Toastmasters think about them as a corporation. They're a nonprofit, right? What other corporation do you know that puts their brand into the hands of the people that are least experienced to hold the brand? Does McDonald's do that? No. Starbucks? No. Right? But Toastmasters does, because the clubs are pretty autonomous, right? So the way that we help them stay on brand is through that area report, right? And the way that you can encourage them to stay on brand is to use moments of truth, just to make sure that they're evaluating the meeting with all of those elements to see if they're hitting all their goals. Remember, guest impressions are made throughout the meeting, and they are what the guest judges the program on. It's not just, do we greet them at the door? and ask them how they found the meeting at the end. It is every single element. So if something goes sideways in your meeting, the guest is watching that and they're making a snap judgment on your club. So that area report is really reporting on the brand standard, that you're evaluating the club as if this was your recon to deliver moments of truth, right? What would I focus on if I had to tell them where they were getting a 3 or less on moments of truth? And then think about that club experience. If this were your first meeting, would you join? And then when it comes to club support, which we've already talked about, did the club complete the district or the distinguished club program plan? And are they meeting their goals? I don't know if those of you that were at convention heard this, but I heard it, that the distinguished club program is going to start being a deadline that the clubs have to hit. I think starting next program year or maybe the year after, it's actually going to be something that you have to go in to Club Central and fill it in to say, these are our intentions.
The district success, the club success plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. The club success plan is your plan to get to distinguished club.
Right.
Right. For club events, again, this goes back to printing out a copy of all of the questions that are going to be asked and knowing ahead of time. But ask if the club has any events planned. So the 2 area reports I've received this year, one correctly answered no, we didn't have any events planned. But the other one, they asked and they said no. And I thought, well, yeah, we do, but okay. So, make sure that you're asking that question. And really, that area report is just trying to get to that well-rounded club, right? You're looking for ways to help the club be a great club. We have a lot of good clubs, but with small tweaks, all of our good clubs can be great. So just think of that, how we do that. And Randy, I want to circle back. I'm going to stop sharing because we're at the end here. I want to circle back to the area report not reporting correctly, right? So I've alluded to area report that I received and that we had exceeds expectations or meets expectations. But let me tell you about what was going on before the official area report when the area director was able to visit. So we have a very low member club, right? There's 8 members. So what happens if 4 of my members can't be there on any given meeting? Then there's only 4 people available. Is it easy to have a Toastmasters meeting with 4 people? No. And that particular club is hybrid. So it's a lot of work for our sergeant at arms to set it up in person and get the Teams thing going. And at one point, our agenda, of course, wasn't full because we only had 4 people. And even the 4 people that we knew could be there hadn't signed up for a role. And the sergeant at arms was over it and said, I'm calling it. We're not having a meeting. And the area director was supposed to visit. Okay. This was maybe an hour before the meeting. Sent an email to the area director. She did receive it in time. So I don't think that she tried to log in and she rescheduled the meeting. If you were the area director, would you try to note that somewhere? So my area director report didn't note that, did not note that they had been scheduled to attend and the meeting got called because the agenda wasn't full. So when the trio and headquarters gets a copy of that area visit, do they know that my club has a problem? No, they don't. Not at all. So is there a way for the district to help the club? No. Now it's my club, so I know people, right? So of course I've told you, Natalie's working on this problem with me. We're trying to work this out. But if I was somebody who wasn't involved in district leadership and only had access to that area director and didn't quite know what the significance was of this area report, would I know to reach out to anybody for help? No. So then Natalie would be looking at this club dying, right? We're trying real hard not to have this club die. But that is a prime example of why you want that area report to reflect what's going on. So to April's point, we don't want to be harsh, right? In that area report. Who does the area report go to?
The president, the VPE.
Goes to the president of VPE, it goes to the trio, and it goes to headquarters. So it's really important that you remember this is not just going to the trio and headquarters. So you can't say, you know what, these dummies canceled this meeting on me 3 times and I wasn't able to show up, right? You don't say that. But you might say, oh, it seems the club was having trouble filling the agenda, that they didn't have enough members attending. We need to work on increasing membership. We need to offer this club some assistance. They might need a club coach. I don't know. There's something that you can put in there about how the district can help, right? You want to make sure it's positive because just like any evaluation, we can give constructive feedback without being harsh or rude. But we also can't just say, yeah, it was great. The meeting I made and they actually got their stuff together. That was a great meeting. Okay, well, area director, do you know if that was just the one meeting that you were at? Or are they trying to consistently have a great meeting? So making sure that the area report reflects that. That's really, really important. Let's see. I'm looking at my notes here to see if there's any questions that we haven't addressed. Natalie talked about the struggle of getting the area directors to schedule and do their area visits. One of the things that I hope that you're talking about is how fun it is to actually visit a club and how lucky you are to get to do that. You get to visit these clubs. You get to visit. That's a lucky, lucky, beautiful thing. So making sure that you're just telling people that they get to do it. And also, look, once you go up in district leadership, you see this is not a unique problem to this program year. It's every year the area directors wait and wait and wait. And then we all tell them, don't wait until the last minute. Everyone's trying to get into the website to fill in the area reports. It's going to crash the server. Don't do that. Still do it. So I know there is a lot of kind of white knuckling it at the end, but we definitely, I think that if you can tell them that they're lucky to do this, they get to do it. And like, if you can just say, please learn from me and don't wait, you want to make sure clubs are meeting. So that home club I talk about, if we have a holiday that week, we don't meet. That's just a thing that we do. So guess what? At the end of November, if they wait until that last Tuesday of November, that is the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week here in the United States, we're not meeting. And it would be like, well, sorry, area director, you didn't do it. I don't know. We're not going to have a special meeting for you. It's our culture not to do that. So, okay, any final questions? Because I know I'm running over. Did you find this helpful?
Just pop it in the chat. As a division director, you can make a report.
Yes.
So if you see that and and things happen, we know our area directors was anytime you visit, enter a report. It's better that they have 125% visit than oops, they missed.
Yes. Yes. I'm thinking back to when my home club first chartered. This is just one thing. And I had never been area director. I was just president of that club. And I got the visit was scheduled with the area director. And I knew like, oh yeah, this is like a thing, like the area director comes. They sent me the area report and asked me to fill it in. This was when it was a PDF and it would get submitted as a PDF to headquarters. And I thought, and I was looking at it was 5 or 6 pages, and I'm looking at this going, no, I'm not filling this in. And I think I just ignored them because, I do that. Julie knows I ignore emails. And so then they had to do it. But can you imagine? Like I'm just contrary, and so I didn't fill it in. But I very well could have. I could have done that whole area report for the area director. Like what's the learning lesson in that for the area director to ask? That they asked me to fill in every question. It wasn't, hey, I have some holes here. Can you help me? It was every question. So don't do that. All right. Madam District Director.
Thank you so very much. let's have some jazz hands and a round of applause for our RA. I hope that everyone here had an opportunity to get their questions answered and obviously have an opportunity to see what it was like to be coached by the best.
Oh.
And you are available for questions if we have further questions via email. Is that true? Or
Yes,
would you like them to come
that's
through
absolutely
me?
true. You can send me questions, but of course, if you really are expecting an answer, I would you can send me an email, but also copy Jean or your notes or April, just so that they can ping me if I haven't responded. Okay, because I don't want to tell you the number of unread emails in my inbox, but it's in the thousands. Okay, and I just don't want you all to be one of those unreads. Okay.
All right.
I'm not proud of it.
Well, thank you again. And we are looking forward to your content for tomorrow. For those of you who plan on joining us again, we have 2 meetings scheduled tomorrow, for one at 9:30 Pacific time and the other at 11. So hopefully you will join us again then. And we'll be talking about some different things, both at 9:30 and 11. It's in the email that has been sent out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and invite your club officers, especially to the 11 o'clock meeting. And hopefully we'll see everyone there tomorrow. And with that, we'll stop the recording.